What's up, crew? Welcome back to Libertalia Game Supply. Today I have for you Suship Spirits, a rank 4 toolbox deck. I call it Ghost Ship, and I decided on that name before I built the deck, and so there was never at any point even a thought of playing the adventure package in here or Time Thieves or whatever. So take that however you will. That might be better off for you to play one of those better engines. I really enjoyed playing it like this. So getting right into it here, we got 3 copies of Sherry, the heart and soul of the deck. You gotta play 3. Pretty much every effect revolves around this either being in your hand or on the field. So we got the 3, and we would play more if we could, which is why we play the 3 red. This also acts as Sherry, so all the effects that need this would work just as well if you had this, but this one gives you an additional special summon outlet. This one can special summon itself from your hand if you have the regular one in your hand also to reveal, and then after it's been special summoned, you can special summon any Gunkan monster from your deck to the field. So that pretty much opens you up to any of your extra deck ships, or really any of your extra deck monsters, but ideally you're going to be grabbing the whichever of these guys is going to get you into the ship that you're looking to make for whatever reason. So 3 of there also. We got the 3 copies of Ikura. This thing can special summon itself from the hand if you have a Sherry on the field, so any of these 6 cards here. And then when it's on the field, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and then if there is a Sherry in there, you can either add it to your hand or special summon it. So a lot of the deck allows you to stack stuff on your deck, and so you can make this effect pretty much always live to be a special summon into another special summon, so it's essentially like a free rank 4, more or less. So 3 of there. 3 of all of the Gunkans, really, you need them all because there's only 5 of them, and we gotta play them all. That's just how it goes. We got 3 copies of Shiro Uo, the little tentacle things. This thing also special summons itself from the hand if you control a Sherry, or if you have an Xyz monster that has Sherry attached to it as material. So live very frequently. When it's on the field, you can special summon a Gunkan from your hand, so any of your other ships that you have in your hand, other than itself. It can't summon an extra copy of itself. And then it also can stack the deck to make like Ikura live. Any of your Sherries you can put on, any number of your Sherries you can put on top of your deck. So I suppose you could put like all 6 of them there if you wanted, but usually what's going to happen is you're going to stack 1, make a ship, because all the ships have a draw 1 effect, and then draw into the one that you just stacked so that you have it for effects for the following turn or whatever. And then we got 3 Uni, the level 5 guy. Reveal a Gunkan in your hand, special summon it. If the thing you revealed was a Sherry, one of these, it can special summon that Sherry to the field. If the thing you revealed was one of the other ones, it puts it on the bottom of your deck. So you really want to be putting one of the Sherrys in your hand to be able to use this most effectively. When it's on the field, it's a level 5. It can make one of your other Suships a level 5 also, so you have that rank 5 play into the big boy down here. Or it can make itself a level 4, so you have access to the entire rest of your extra deck. And then into our ghosts, we got 3 Sakitama and 3 Aratama. It's a pretty standard engine at this point for most rank 4 decks, like Exo Sister predominantly comes to mind right now. Aratama will search the Sakitama of your hand. Sakitama's effect will let you summon itself, so it's a rank 4. It does burn the normal summon with the Aratama. That's the thing that I was playing 2. I bumped it up to 3 because ultimately that doesn't really matter as much, because usually if you open anything that can put a rank 4 on board, you can get one of your Sherrys in your hand off of the Magic Key guy, this one. And so if you gotta lose your normal summon, so much of the Gunkans let you special summon themselves in some way or another, and so you just gotta try to play around that with a deck that only costs $7, you know. The Sakitama is just a good extender either way. So even if you don't open the Aratama, if you have any other Gunkan in your hand, you pretty much have access to your whole extra deck at that point, as long as you have the Sakitama or, whatever. And then we got the 1 Nibiru, only the 1, because it's searchable off of Gallant Granite. So if you get stuck going first, this is an OTK deck, and you want to go second, but if you do get stuck going first, you can just search the Nibiru if you know what your opponent's playing for whatever reason, or probably just reasonably assume that they're going to summon all over your ass, and so you just search the Nibiru. They got to try to play around it, or you just light them up as soon as they pass that 5 summon threshold. And then for our spells, we got the 3 Seaside Supper Spot, the field spell with the terraforming to search it. Once per turn, if you normal or special summon one of your ships, you can stack one of your ships or any of your Gunkan cards on top of your deck. So it searches your other spells and traps, the Catch of the Day and the Daily Special, or any of the rest of your monsters. You just put it on top of your deck. That matters because, like I mentioned earlier, all of the extra deck ships give you that draw 1 if you use one of these to summon it, and so you can stack it on the special summons that they get off of having the Sherry in whatever location, then overlay for the ship and draw it. So it pretty much just searches one whenever you summon a ship. Also, if one of your extra deck ships dies, it can float into a new extra deck ship as long as you have a Sherry in your hand. So it dies, your opponent takes burn damage equal to its defense points, and then you can special summon an extra deck Gunkan with a Sherry from your hand as material. But you can only do it if you have the Sherry in your hand, and so that makes the first effect, the stack and draw one, a little bit more important there, just because you're setting up that float effect if nothing else. Then we get our 3 catch of the day, the most convoluted search card I think I've ever seen in this game, but the flavor is phenomenal, I gotta say. So once per turn, you can reveal a Sherry and then reveal an Xyz monster, one of your Gunkan Xyz monsters, and your opponent then declares a Gunkan monster that is listed on an Xyz monster. So if they know the deck, they can name any of them. If not, they'll probably just end up naming the one that's on the card you show them. But either way, it's fairly random for that reason. You don't know what you're going to get. Usually it doesn't matter. It's just adding the extra body to your hand so then you can summon. And if they declare one that you don't have, you have to shovel this back in the deck. But they would have to know pretty well how the deck functions, and this being a pretty not popular deck. I mean, you can't really bank on just your opponent not knowing for a deck to be good. But in this instance, you can kind of play around that whole deal. But every time you use this effect, you get a counter on this card, and then if your opponent were to destroy this card, they pay 500 life points for every counter on it. So, as I mentioned, flavor, phenomenal. It's essentially you taking down their order, and then when they destroy it, it's them having to pay the bill. There's just something great about that. I love it. We got the one double or nothing for the Utopia OTK. It's pretty easy to do in this deck. Everything gets you to a rank 4 monster, so you might as well play it. We got the 3 painful decision. I chose this over Unexpected Die because Unexpected Die requires your field to be empty, where this you can use at any time. Send one of your Sherries to the graveyard, add one to your hand. There are a few cards in the deck that lets you like recycle from graveyard back into your deck, and so this doesn't really hit you too bad. I could see you choosing to play the Unexpected Die over this thing, just as 3 additional copies of the Sherry on turn 1 that you could draw into. It's just so much of the deck. Like if you could open any of these 6, or if you open any of the spirits plus, you know, if you open the Aratama, you're good to go. If you open any of the spirits plus any of the other level 4s that aren't Sherry, you just make this guy and search the Sherry. So it's pretty easy to get to. And so I wanted to play the spell that was going to be more live, or you would just cut this all together and play something else like Draw Power. I suppose you're playing a ton of 3 of, so you could play like Desires, but I don't know that it's worth the risk there because you need most of your deck to really get this thing going. But yeah, I mean, if you have opinions about this, I'll hear about them. I'm not all the way sold on this yet, but I feel like my theory was just as good as any to play this over Unexpected Die. We got the triple Dark Ruler Mill more because this is an OTK deck, and going second isn't the worst thing in the world. We just shut off that board so we can make all of our monsters, and then you just attack over whatever you can and win it all. And then we got the one daily special. So when you flip it, you can reveal a Sherry from your hand or not. If you reveal it, it will matter here. So you'll then reveal 3 Gunkan monsters from your deck. If you did not reveal a Sherry on activation, your opponent picks the monster that you get. So, I mean, you could just reveal a 3 of that's in your deck and you're searching the specific one anyway. Or if you did reveal the Sherry, you can then pick whatever one you want. So it's essentially just a search. Then when it's in your graveyard, you can banish it to take 3 of your ships out of your graveyard and put them back in your deck or in your extra deck or whatever. So good little recycling card there. I like it at 1. I would never play it at more than 1 and could even see it justifying cutting it to 0. And then the triple imperm because negate effects. I know I said it's a going second deck. Evenly matched sucks in this deck because you really want the opportunity to OTK early if you can, because the deck will lose pretty quickly after that. So evenly just wasn't really an option. I suppose it's still a blowout card, but that's not really that much fun. I just want to shut some stuff off, get to my turn, and then just crush you with my ghost ship. And then into the extra deck here. So the rank 5 guy, we'll say first of all of the Suship Xyz monsters, if you summon them using a Sherry, you get to draw a card on their summon, and then if you summon them using the monster that they're like an upgrade of, you get an additional effect. So this one uses Uni, the orange slices of things here. If you summon it with the Uni, it gets the ability to attack directly, so 2900 straight to the face. This thing also has an effect during your main phase or your opponent's battle phase. You can negate the effect of a face-up monster your opponent controls up to the number of Gunkans you have. On your turn, I suppose that's kind of good because you just shut down, you know, if you fill your whole board, which this deck is pretty good at, you can shut down everything during your main phase. So if you summon this first, shut everything down, and then you're kind of free to do everything as long as they didn't stop you. I really don't think the effect is all that good, because during your opponent's battle phase, like, once they've made it to battle phase, they've made all the summons that they're really looking to make it within that turn, and so it's not doing much for you unless they have some like battle phase specific effects that you're shutting down. So the 1 felt fine because most of the time I'm going into the 4s anyway. We've got the 2 Dreadnought. This is the rank up version of the Akura. So draw 1, and then it can make 2 attacks if you summon it with the little red balls there. Also, anytime one of your Gunkans that was extra deck summoned does damage to your opponent just the first time, it can destroy a monster. So it's a removal as well as attacking twice, as well as the draw 1 if you use the Sherry. So pretty good there. And then I would say this one's probably the best. The Shirauo class carrier uses the little tentacle guy, and then if you use the tentacle guy, you get to search one of your spell or trap. So this is probably one of your best turn 1 plays, just to get everything going, especially if you get stuck going first. You want to get one of your spells, or even this thing, depending on how your hand was, in your hand or on the field, so that you can kind of get the engine of the deck going. So this is a really easy first summon, and then you make these for more of the OTK type stuff. We've got the 1 Baguska. If you get stuck going first, you're probably going to make this or Gallant Granite to search the Nibiru, or to try to shut down their board and hope that they don't have removal. We've got the 1 Dugaris, just because it's like a toolbox of effects depending on, you know, the game state. You get to draw 2, you could get the free special summon, you could skip your next battle phase, double the attack of something, and just force the OTK. So just a pretty decent one over there in this deck. We got the 1 Tornado Dragon. This could be cut and played anything else, really. It's back row destruction, it doesn't matter. Gallant Granite to search the Nibiru. This thing is super important, I feel. Magic Key Spirit Vaporatu. So on summon, you can detach 1 and then search a normal monster. So in this instance, you're searching Sherry. The other effect doesn't really matter all that much. Unless you happen to be playing against a fire deck, I suppose you get the free removal. That's your only normal monster, is the fire monster. And so maybe, but you can't really count on that being something. The 1 Emerald. Either you get to shuffle 3 back and draw 1, so kind of like refilling the decks similar to the daily special, or you can special summon one of your normal monsters out of the graveyard, so the Sherry, put it back on board, and it turns on the effects of all your other main deck Gunkan guys. We've got the 1 Exciton, the 1 Zeus. Exciton as well as Tornado Dragon would be the 2 that I could see you removing to make room for the F-Zero package in this deck. Is probably pretty good. I just didn't want to play it because that just feels too easy, too free, you know, but F-Zero would be a good inclusion in this deck. But it's just the Exciton and the Zeus to blow up some boards, and then we got the Double or Nothing engine, Utopia Double, and Utopia. But that'll wrap it up for this one. I had fun playing this deck. It seems like there's a lot going on, but it's a lot simpler once you start playing around with all the stuff. It makes a whole lot more sense. I'm sure there is a ceiling that I have not reached where you could play, you know, other engines that make this thing even better. Like Adventure Engine for sure is good. I just could not name it Ghost Ship at that point, and that was unacceptable. So, you know, if you're looking for something cheap to play, this is definitely cheap. I think the whole main deck core here, like what I have listed here, is probably less than like, I bet it's less than $10 if you don't include the imperms, and then with the imperms it might be like 35, 40, and you could just play something else here. If you're really looking to build budget, you could just replace these with, I don't know, torrentials or whatever else. Other hand traps, Ash Blossoms are like $3 or something. You could build this whole main deck very, very cheap. The extra deck even also, I think Zeus is 10, and then everything else is like $1 or $2. Even the Emerald has like common and recent Ultra reprints, like super, super cheap deck. So if you're looking for something really cheap and fun to pick up, I would recommend this for sure. It's a fun one, and I can see there being some potential if you really take the time to learn the deck. Before I go, I'll let you know here, Boojins will be the next deck list that I post. I'm waiting on one card to show up. It should be here within the next couple of days, and then next week, that list will be up. So if you've been waiting for it, I've been waiting for it. It's going to be a good one. So subscribe if you want to make sure you're seeing that. In the meantime, happy deck building. I'll see you guys in a few days. Have a good one. Bye.